into the discussion segment here with two advocates of the High Court here in the capital, Nairobi. Benji Ndolo is senior political commentator. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Hopefully the camel milk tea will do some good or wonders here on the program.
It's actually very nice.
Very nice?
Very much indeed, yes.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Good morning. Reba, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How are you?
It's been some time since you were on set.
We took a break, but now we have to come back and really try. You know, we have a responsibility in the society. So we really cannot abrogate away from this responsibility. So we have to keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wakili Lachena, good morning.
Morning.
Happy to have you on board. It's a good day. It's a good Monday at the start of the week. And we start on this note. Let's take a look at the developments over the weekend. And this, of course, regards the accusations on the former Sports Cabinet Secretary, Rashid Achesa. But before we do that, we have a cartoon that's detailed by the Sunday edition of the Daily Nation. And this is, of course, what has been happening ever since Wednesday last week when the political baton was passed to Baringo Senator Gideon Moi by his elder brother, Raymond Moi, the Member of Parliament for Rongai constituency. And there are concerns as to whether he can fill up the shoes, the big shoes of Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, whether he can revive the former ruling KANU party. And that has been the point with which many political pundits have been reading into the culture. Reba, coming to you first on this note. Do you see Gideon now getting the baton? Can he be responsible, and how firm can he be with the Fimbo Nyayo?
My considered opinion is that, leadership is not something that you pass to somebody like Subaru keys or a Mercedes-Benz key, and then now you own the Mercedes-Benz. It's not like if I pass you my Note 10 here, then you'll become the owner. That is not how leadership is. There is more, and there should be more that is supposed to be portrayed before you can really say that now this person is a leader. I mean, probably from the family, they feel that he is the right person to lead the family and fill the void of Mzee at the family level. Mm-hmm. But then when we come to the national arena and the national scene, by the mere fact that now he has the Fimbo, which is considered Fimbo ya Nyayo, it does not make him Nyayo. I mean, as I said earlier, leadership traits, you cannot transfer them through a third thing like an object. You cannot objectify leadership. This is something that is supposed to be inborn. If you're born with it and you are able to grow in that ladder, then it doesn't matter whether somebody hands it over to you or he does not hand it over to you. So I feel that from the family level, they feel he's the right person. But now when it comes to out here, he needs to cut a niche for himself. He needs to create a space for himself. There has been accusations before, and I share the same sentiments, that Gideon, there's some people who said that he will probably be the president of this Republic of Kenya. I don't know. You can be the president. He can be the president. You wouldn't know. But then he has not come out to stamp his authority. You remember that there is a joke that now that his father is gone, where will he do his meetings? Because most of the time he has been considered to do his meetings from his father's home.
Kabarak has been the fortress of power.
Yes, fortress of power. So regardless of the Fimbo, whether he has it or he does not have it, he needs to come out and make space for himself.
While you point out that, Wakili Areba, that at the family level, and that has been and Raymond has been very categorical that as a family, despite him being the elder, they have chosen him to be the leader. But there are also equally those who harbor that Gideon is a presidential material, and that those in the KANU Fresh believe that he can be the president.
Ayub, you are a presidential material. You have the advantage of age. I mean, you have presidential material. You are presidential material. We can clearly say that Charles Njonjo cannot be the president of Kenya. We can say that Kibaki cannot be the president of Kenya. But you can be the president. I can be the president. We have the advantage of age. But then my point is that Gideon needs to come out and make space for himself.
Okay.
You see the kind of people he's trying to compete with, if at all he's going for the presidency. Those are people who have been able to get their space on the political scene.
Okay. Benji Ndolo, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I mean, in regards to, in terms of analysis, because we have to look at it from the end point of the depth here, is about whether the passing on of the baton can be equally the revival point of KANU as a party, because they need re-engineering, they need to coalesce around a cause. And can that happen, perhaps?
I think it was symbolic, and this is really good political fodder to do analysis, because what does Gideon have? Gideon has one or two things. It's really one thing that comes with the second. These are important in politics, but unfortunately, that's all he has. Gideon Moi has name recognition. He's the son of the second president. Gideon Moi, even though he won't tell you, I'll tell you, and I do my research very well. We're around this town. We do many things. Gideon Moi has a lot of money. He won't tell you that, but I'll tell you. Gideon Moi has all the money you can think of in the world. How is another question, but he's the last-born favorite son of the late president, and he has a lot of money. That's why you saw his Secretary General Salat say, we will host here at Kabarak, at the drop of a hat, for 40 days, people to look at our party. You must realize, Ayub, that the Moi family, for example, is able to do a burial. But what happened? Sometimes, money goes where money is. The state took up all costs.
And it was a military affair.
It was a military affair. It was a state affair. The state took up all costs, conceivably including the hospital bill. So guess what? They didn't even spend that money. It is very easy, therefore, for them to think, Mzee was given such an honor, and Mzee loved politics, and he's a politician, and loved KANU. Wacha tutumie hii pesa to mobilize watu tuamshe chama. That's how these things are done. The problem is, and we've talked about it here many Mondays, Sheikh, that the party is synonymous with failure. KANU drove this country to the brink after ruling for 39 years and left Kenya basically bankrupt. So it is always a tall order. President Uhuru, the current president, is the immediate former chairman of KANU. So you saw that come up in the speeches, and he ran away from KANU because he was approached and asked, he asked them, can we rebrand KANU? But for purposes of, posterity and history, etc., they said no. And so as a matter of necessity, the current president then left KANU, formed something else, picked something called the National Alliance, TNA, together with his deputies, URP, and formed something else. So they had to leave the ghosts of KANU. So once again, just to answer your question, yes, the baton has been passed to Gideon, but Gideon's got some challenges. And why I'm stressing this point, Ayub, is because the typical challenges in politics for you and I are not his challenges. So he's in like a unique dilemma. Because for me, I'd be an excellent politician and leader, but money is the challenge.
Okay.
And then for a while, name recognition, people are like, who's Benji? Who's Benji? So Gideon's got those, but he's got unsurmountable odds in the track record in the history of the Independence Party.
Okay, given that, because there are a lot of perspectives in terms of looking at that, but Wakili Lachena, Benji did mention the fact that there is the factor of money here and the factor of the dented record of the KANU party at the time when they were in power, especially under Daniel Toroitich arap Moi in 24 years. I mean, it was awash with human rights violations, clamped down on dissent, minimal freedom of expression until the democratic space opened up in 1991 following the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution. Can that be perhaps the denting point if Gideon Moi is to take up this particular responsibility of reviving KANU? I mean, making himself a presidential material and coming into the political ring come 2022, because all this long he has been silent despite members of his KANU party wanting him or calling on him as the president come 2022. So how does he perhaps navigate around the shortcomings of the former KANU party in power, I mean, in 24 years' time under the tenure of his father?
Thank you, Ayub. We say in law that equity does not hinder the indolent. And Gideon has been idle. Idle in terms of, even in KANU, he has no that grip. I think people even associate Nicky Salat with KANU even more than Gideon Moi. And you look at it, the boys or the students of Moi under the KANU regime have already moved on. Okay? They are already successful wherever they went.
Including President Kenyatta.
Including President
And
Kenyatta.
DP Ruto.
Right? So it is a bit too late to say that he's going to revive KANU and make it vigorous like it was during the tenure of his father. Secondly, you need also to look at it in a different way. Who is Gideon now? And I think last time we talked and said, remove the name Moi from Gideon and leave Gideon Kipsiele on his own. Right? Well, if Mzee Moi and nominated Gideon when he was alive to take over his mantle, okay, and presented him to the people, including the Kalenjins, as in general, it would have made a lot of difference. Because the mantle that was given the other day is purely a family affair. So just like my learned friend said, it's like a family affair. Because this is his brother who gives him the mantle. It is not his father. If it was his father when he was alive did that, and at least made him someone, even under the Kalenjin community, it would have made a lot of difference. But he did not do that. Unfortunately, he knew his age, he knew his going, but he never stood one day to say, now, I've endorsed my son to take over the mantle of Kanu. I've endorsed my son to prepare himself for the presidency, just like he did to Uhuru Kenyatta years back. You know, there's a very big difference when Uhuru was picked from wherever he was picked, and you know he's the president today, because Moi was still there, he was still watching, he was still, you know very well, like they are saying now, we don't know where they will be running to for advice. Now that Mzee is gone, I don't know who is going to.
Mzee's chair is empty.
There is one very key thing that is coming out. Huh?
Yes.
You know, Kanu was like a vehicle. Let me use it like it was a Toyota 110.
Yes.
Then, which everybody looked and which everybody loved. Everybody who had money wanted to buy that Toyota 110. Yes. But as time has gone by, more inventions have come. So really trying to modify a Toyota 110 to be like a Mercedes E350, which is Jubilee and ODM as they are right now, it's going to be a very hard task. If as my senior said, if you just remove the word Moi from Gideon and just put him on the streets of Nairobi, you might not even be able to pick Gideon from the streets of Nairobi without the name Moi, and just walks randomly. Then put him with Mudavadi, put him with Ruto, Uhuru. You can easily be able to pick them. So politics is not all about saying Ayub Tosha. You also have to have that inner you coming out, and that lion in you. It has to really come out and be seen. I mean, Benji said that he has money, yes. But you understand, Benji, that in campaigning, and you have traveled wide, people don't use their money. People use other people's money.
Well, sometimes you use your own money.
Of course. But then, no politicians who has successfully used his money to get to power. Most of the time, we depend on other people's money.
That's true.
That is why you hear.
And it's interesting to look at Michael Bloomberg, by the way, because Michael Bloomberg so far has. So Michael Bloomberg is in a real nasty war with the president, Trump.
That is Trump.
You've seen that in the last 10 days. And actually, yesterday, the president did an event at Daytona in Florida, a big event. And just as he did the event, Michael Bloomberg had paid a lot of money to put ads. So the ads cut into the event, of course, driving the president crazy. Yes. The amount I have as of last week was $180 million.
US dollar, that's about
his own money. Oh, and he even sent him a tweet. You can check it, and we can show it to. He sent a threat to the president. He said, "You're a con man. You're a clown. I have the record and the resources to defeat you." We should find that tweet and share it with Kenyans, because it's kind of like a totally different
explains
world.
perhaps the boardroom decisions and perhaps the people who back up these political players.
Let me finish my point. That is why we have a very a cluster, very powerful cluster called the Mount Kenya Mafia. You know, behind somebody in power, there are people who control the people in power, and those are the people with money. I doubt that the family of the late President Moi will allow Gideon to just use all the money they have in trying to campaign for the presidency. And for these people to come and back you, they need to see the lion in you coming out.
Okay.
The lion, or rather the cock in Gideon, has not really come out to be that which can be polished to make a presidential material. So, I mean, Kanu in itself, you saw what happened with Jubilee, the kind of frenzy, the kind of campaign, the kind of modernism that was brought in, the kind of technology. That is something that Kanu is yet to really be able to adapt. I mean, Kanu has a name, and that is all.
You also need to realize that, look at who are the supporters of Kanu, even countrywide, back in the villages. It's these old wasses and the old ladies.
The lifetime members.
It's not the young people. And we're moving forward. But we're not going backward. So you need to look at how is he going to bring these people together and ensure that Kanu takes.
We have a few crazy young people, like one who comes here. But you're right, Kanu is just maybe not even my grandmother.
Okay.
Kanu is just...
My mom apparently has the lifetime. I can't remember. And,
Now you see?
Does she believe in it still?
no, apparently I had time in terms of convincing her. but coming to you, Benji, and Areba, anyone can pick this particular point. It was the talk of what happened, perhaps punctuated the whole process of the burial of Mzemo in Kabrak in Nakuru County. And this was the talk by the opposition chief Raila Odinga, who said that the Deputy President William Ruto should not hide behind his peasant life as perhaps reviving the narrative of the dynasties versus the hustlers. I mean, we have seen this context play out at the European level politics, where we have seen the likes of Marine Le Pen in France, Viktor Orban in Hungary, Nigel Farage in the UK, Donald Trump in the US, and Matteo Salvini in Italy, playing nationalistic tone, perhaps to drive an agenda. How will this shape up the hustlers versus dynasties, shape up our political course come 2022?
I think that Raila had the audacity to address that thing so head-on at such a sensitive function
Event.
or as an event like that where we're laying to rest ahead of state. That tells you that the risk is real. I looked at some footage yesterday out of Dandora, and I wonder if my colleagues looked at the same. It's gone viral all over social media. The Deputy President is leaving a church, and there are literally chants. It's almost a security crisis for his team, who actually
chanting
then
his name
over, manhandled a lady that was trying to get to him, carrying some documents. But the people are literally chanting his name until he has to be kind of evacuated into his vehicles and moved out of that scene. And what they're chanting is, Ruto. They're literally screaming, hustler, hustler. Now, as someone who likes to look at, intelligence assessments and, geopolitical, social signals and trends, you can obviously see that that is something that can catch a lot of traction in no time at all, especially in the context of BBI, in the context of misgovernance, in the context of all the corruption that has gone on, and especially if you consider that campaigns have not really started. I can see a situation where the DP, and by the way, his strongest base now is not so much even Rift Valley. Rift Valley is a foregone conclusion. It is central Kenya. There is something going on in central Kenya that is really serious. And if you follow very keenly, from Nyeri all the way to like Kipia, you had Kiunjuri yesterday, there is something going on in central Kenya, and that's why you see the president playing his cards very carefully. And you remember, once again, we discussed that here, the viral video that went, where they asked the president, how come you're always so angry when you're at home? The way you talk to us. Munene, Nike Munene. There's something cooking in central Kenya that is really, these would be the two, takeoff points from which the DP would be operating. And that's why you see the onslaught on him. And I like some of the analysis I saw last week, where a lot of senior pundits like Manyora are saying, the onslaught on the DP, I think if I was him in the next few weeks, I'm saying, hey, gentlemen, nimesalimu amri. Because this is very serious stuff. This is today's paper.
Yes, the content 23 minutes, his office.
And I'm not saying that he is innocent. So this kind of onslaught is because they have actually seen that there is some sort of firestorm movement because of the poverty, the unemployment, etc. Now, for his part, where Ruto has gone wrong is the level and the audacity of corruption. I'm not saying he's guilty, but he's not innocent.
Okay.
This is where he's gone
Well,
wrong.
this is a grave concern, especially when this particular meeting, which is of concern in terms of not only political, but equally the security of the country. I mean,
because the goodwill is there.
Infiltration of the Department of Defense.
Ayub, the point I'm making is the goodwill is there. You're already number 2. I saw a clip yesterday where on radio he's talking about mimi ni mtu mdogo sana. I literally used to sell chicken. So he's literally number 2. Ruto is a billionaire. Ruto's got hotels in the CBD in Nairobi. What is this penchant for theft and corruption that is just never ending? It cannot be a coincidence.
Okay, we have a clip to that effect and a tweet by the DP.
So to me, that's a mistake.
Okay, but let's finish up. Like Chena, he mentioned a very critical point about mentioning central Kenya, which is a jewel in the crown of Kenyan politics for any person who, of course, will want to understand the Kenyan politics. Because those who are not at the tapestry of understanding the Kenyan political arena, it's very central, it's very pivotal, it's the fulcrum point of Kenya's politics. And the DP William Ruto apparently is seeing it as a launch pad for his attendance to State House in Nairobi come 2022. But then is he cleverly, packaging that particular message about dairy farming, about coffee, about pyrethrum, about tea, to the extent that central Kenya seems to be now his support base in terms of his 2022 political ambitions and the presidency?
I think you've seen lately, or let's say for the last 1 year or so, Ruto has been a frequent visitor of central Kenya. And it is unfortunate, I may say, that central Kenya carries a big lunch of economy in this country in terms of agriculture, right? But he has been attending Harambes, church fundraisers, maybe some other functions, but rarely have we seen him coming up strongly in terms of how to develop agriculture, how to maybe revive even the coffee industry. But his politics, if you look at them at central Kenya, you relate them to be quite a bit individual, because he has been winning the support of across the board of the MPs. And I may say he has done this mostly because it was done at an individual level. He will come and pick Ndolo because he's the MP for whatever, let's say Madira constituency. Then he befriends him and he gives him support. I don't know to say what he does for him to at least to even cling completely to Ruto and give him the support. I don't know whether it's the money,
or weekly allowance,
whether it is the money, the money factor.
Well, it's not a bad thing.
That is
that's what Kieleweke says.
It is quite unfortunate that it has nothing.
I wish you guys knew the story about how he eclipsed Gideon. I can tell you what you're coming.
It was and also the Hustler issue that we were talking about.
The two narratives.
You see, what Raila was trying to say is he scoffed him actually by saying, stop telling us you've been an hustler. Actually, he's doing a mistake by saying that, because we've seen you with your videos still, they can be shown when you're selling chicken, and now you're a billionaire. And I said this again, where did this money come from? Is it the salary of a deputy president? Is it the allowances? So definitely this money must have come from somewhere. Now, that is why Raila was saying, even my father was a peasant, which is true. We all know that from 1961, nobody was rich in this country to be called that was rich, isn't it? But they have made their money. They made their money from a beginning point. I don't know whether it was meant. Of course, most of it was.
Even Jomo was the poorest.
They made their money for a long period of time when they were still in power, trying to raise up the country, trying to make the country what it is. But you've just come, you've met us. You are now a billionaire and you are selling chicken while I was still sitting in State House. And now you're trying to tell the people, because I'm an hustler, I've come from here, now I need to ascend to the highest office. Actually, he needs to drop that.
The tag.
But it's working for him.
Whereas you think that he needs to drop that tag, it's perfectly working.
It's working
for the
for
deputy
him.
president. And one of the things that endears people and supporters to the deputy president is that when the deputy president meets you today and you meet after 1 week, he'll be like, Wakili, how have you been? How is everything? You know, that personal touch. I mean, he's very smart, and he's able to mingle with the common people eating maize. You know, we might look at it like a PR, but it's working for him. Imagine that woman who the deputy president stops and buys maize from. Will that woman ever forget that person?
Of course not.
And from a strategic point of view, the deputy president has understood what to do to endear himself with the people who actually vote. He does not need to please the likes of Ndolo and the likes of you who don't vote. He needs to please the people.
The common monarchy.
The
majority. That has been the same strategy by Governor Mike Sonko in Nairobi.
Yes. You see, for you'll be sitting on TV and criticizing that, he bought maize, he bought bananas, that is wrong, that is PR. But those are the people who vote. Those are the people he's getting himself to. Now, the Mkokoteni pushers, the people who are saying, Sisi ni hustler. Those are the people who he's endearing themselves. He's not bothered about you and I, who have smartphones.
Okay. Now the point is, this has been my question, and to whether the tag, I mean, the sort of narrative that continues to crop up, I'm talking about the narratives of hustlers versus dynasties. And the DP William Ruto is always very categorical, especially when he conducts exclusive interviews at his current residency in Nairobi, that welcome to the hustlers mansion. How do you think this will help or help the Kenyan political arena going forward? Because apparently there are some who feel that to detach power from the dynasties, the likes of, I'm talking about the Moi family, the Kenyatta family, and the Odinga family, who many believe are trying to coalesce around the BBI at the moment in terms of their, I mean, grip on power going forward post
For their own interests, yeah, which they
and
don't say.
perhaps
Yeah.
use the hustlers narrative in this case, where the majority of the votes, and put someone in presidency come 2022 who is from a peasant background.
You see, actually, you see what is there, Ayub, is the unfortunate thing with African politics is the level of, and we talk about this here, I believe, every week, the level of deception, the level of manipulation, the level of trickery. You know, if you look at the UN Human Development Index reports, that's a very good, and I always tease him, I know you love reading, just reading all manner of stuff. If you go look at the Human Development Index reports, and just do, you know, even via Google, you know, comparative analysis. For example, yesterday I was coming from Shags and I said, let me just do some comparative analysis. And I suspected that the city of Houston, which is one of over 200 cities in the US. In Texas, which is a state, has a higher GDP than Uganda or Kenya.
Yeah.
And I was actually right.
Yeah.
You know, and Texas has Houston, has Dallas, you know, Fort Worth, etc.
And California's economy is 10 times that of Kenya.
Yeah, and it's number 10 in the world.
Yep.
And that's a state. You see, so that's what I'm saying, you like to read. I realize that our politics especially is about trickery. So that if you look at these reports, you realize the disparity between the rich and the poor in Kenya is growing.
Yes.
It's really growing.
Is huge. 1%, actually, 78% of the workforce in this country, 78% works for the 12%. The 12% own all the different interests in media, mining,
Healthcare,
real estate, healthcare,
hospitality,
everything.
education.
And if you look at even income disparity,
It's very high.
the total wealth of Kenya's 1% is equal to the total wealth of Kenya's bottom 90%. Then the middle class is somewhere in there, in between. So that you have scores and scores and scores of Kenyans that are living on 200 shillings a day. So in that regard, then, you can see that to mobilize the poor hustlers is almost a revolution. This would be fine if this was genuine. But Ruto himself, and with the different things his children are doing, is also becoming a dynasty very fast.
And supported dynasties, for that matter. Kanu, Moi,
Of course. But
Uhuru Kenyatta.
you see, so that's what I'm talking about, the deception. And that's why I keep telling you that the only thing that's going to work for this country is a genuine political revolution. The kind of things Nelson Mandela and Che Guevara and those guys were doing is the only thing that's going to save us. Because now you've got, you know, I hate to say some of these things on air, but, you know, Ruto, Kalonzo, Raila, all these guys are neighbors.
Of course.
They're literally neighbors. Friends, colleagues, they've sat in cabinet together.
Business partners.
They served in
They're
parliament.
business partners, they've served in parliament. You know, they're closer than you and I.
Yeah.
And I love my brother Ayub. So sometimes you look at the situation and you really feel sad for the hapless poor voter who is really looking for answers, but where are they going to get answers? This same Ruto was Raila's minister. Yet now they've got very serious differences, and you can see that whatever is happening is stressing Raila and irritating him, and he's very angry about it.
It's made it personal, actually.
Yeah, you can see he's very angry about it. But you know what? Mambo bado. For all of them, mambo bado.
We have a long way to go.
Ruto is going to run a very nasty campaign. BBI is going to use as much state resource as they can to shove this thing down the throat of Kenyans. There are rumors and reports that maybe this whole thing is choreographed, that at the end of the day, maybe the president...
No,
and the deputy
it's
president
not
are
maybe.
together.
Ndolo, it's not, I need to cut you short.
Yes, come please.
The way BBI looks so I mean, it's like a play. You can almost see the end. I have been on record saying that if indeed this BBI has the intentions when people were shaking hands and saying that we don't need to fight, that is something that we needed to support. The moment we started having a conversation that yule mwenye atapinga hii ataona tsunami.
And you're still saying it.
That you will be swept like garbage.
Like garbage.
Kama takataka kwenda kwa bahari.
That is the moment.
That is a very angry person.
Moment I asked
Very angry
myself,
man.
where are we really heading? I mean, I appeared before the task force. I presented my report.
Oh, you did very well, Wakili.
And- and-
So you're building a bridge by burning bridges.
And let me finish my point.
Yeah.
When there was one of these meetings in one town, which I won't name, I was called and told, come and give your opinion. But I said,
You should name if it was not a secret meeting.
it was in Kisii. I was told, as one of the people from this area, come and give your views. I said, this is a stakeholder engagement. If we are to do a stakeholder engagement, print copies, let's take them down. Let's do a training for 3 or 4 days.
Correct.
Then let's
So that
bring these
people
people
can
together.
understand what it
But then
is.
when you're telling me to come on Friday and pay for me
For a rally.
pay for me a helicopter ride from Nairobi and just come there and say, "Hii kitu ni mzuri mnaona aje?"
No.
I said, no. My professionalism, I can't allow this. And even right now, which kind of stakeholder engagement is happening? I know my father does not have a copy. My mother has not seen a copy. The people
see?
in the village have not seen
You
copies.
see, trickery.
It's
I talked about
a
trickery
clear
earlier.
disappointment when
Okay.
I heard Raila say
Yes.
that it is not the business of the committee to come and tell the people.
That was
what is-
wrong.
Actually, that was wrong. And he said it on
And he
Saturday.
says it many
But
times.
let
When
us-
Raila was
let
Prime
us be the-
Minister,
Yet the
let us
intent-
be
he has
the ones
said
to
many
tell them.
times
Which is so
that
wrong.
the Speaker of the National Assembly should not interfere in cabinet when he was in executive. Raila, when he was having his struggles here on politics, said very angrily, all these media people here have the footage. Which court? Supreme Court, my foot.
Yeah, I remember
Okay.
saying that.
know these
And
things.
days before that, before they filed the petition, which subsequently ended in the nullification of the president's election, he said the ultimatum is that the Supreme Court must redeem itself from what it has done in 2013. But Areba, to be specific here, the intent in regards to the BBI we are talking about here is politically make this country sane post-2022. If the two gentlemen, by their coming together, their bromance, is unable to free Kenya from shackles of political violence, the uncertainty at the time, the divisions in the ruling Jubilee Party, Ruto saying that you cannot force this down our throats, and that it's all a manipulative process, then what was the need of them coming together if it can't offer the clean political break at the moment?
I am on record as having said that we didn't need the BBI, but it's there. We have to accept it. If we really implemented the current pieces of law and the constitution as it is, we will not be having any problem. But right now, we seem like 10 years from now, we will have other people shake hands, go around and collect views, and the system is likely to continue. Because as we are right now, we are creating more divisions than they were before. We already have people who are supporting and people who are opposing. I was asking somebody from my village, you're asking me whether I'm supporting BBI or opposing. This is just like a report in my office. What's there to support? I mean, this is just a report that we need to build up and have something substantive. So right now, it's so even wrong to say, I oppose the BBI. What are you opposing?
What are you opposing?
You can't oppose a report that is just there.
And there is no opposition
in fact,
yet.
In fact, what Council is saying, I will put it in these words for people to understand. This is like a novel that was given to us to read, all right? What we need is a document like this, an amended constitution, so that we can see whether they have used a want will
Yes,
or a
a
shall,
shall.
or might or can, and then we see where are they going to insert those things that they are discussing about in that report. In which section are they going to amend, and how are they going to amend it to look? What are they going to either, like for example, now we say we are going to amend Article 70, we are going to amend Article 75.
Okay.
Let us have that document, then come and ask me if I support it.
Or
Okay.
oppose.
Ayub, I know
Wait,
sometimes I do
wait.
this. I know
Okay.
sometimes I do this and it's out of format. Allow me to ask a question, because we are fortunate this morning to have very spectacular counsel, both of them on set. I also do law, but I'm not an advocate. So you can imagine my joy to find now peers who are actually advocates and can do this. Gentlemen, help me understand, because I think sometimes in Africa especially, we always end up in problems because we always sweep things under the carpet. You remember TGRC, you remember the Agenda 4
yes,
items.
Yep.
Yes.
You remember, the coalition
The
government
Kriegler report.
10 years ago, the Kriegler report. So we moved away from all those recommendations. I saw the IBC unable to pay something last week.
Yes.
Unable to run. And now the IBC in 2021 will be hit with 20 billion shillings. Chukua hii pesa,
Final
then they have money,
referendum.
then all of a sudden a lot of failures. Gentlemen, help me to understand something, just to take 2 steps back on the genesis of BBI. Honorable Raila Odinga, a veteran politician with a huge following in Kenya, said, and I quote, "Uhuru did not defeat me. The election was not clear."
He'll say it even today if you
Yes.
asked him.
Yes.
Give him a chance.
Exactly. Even sometimes I see him in different fora and he's like,
And he said
for
it
sure,
in
he
Mombasa.
really didn't defeat.
He
Yeah,
He said it
actually,
in
I saw it in
Mombasa,
Mombasa. Yeah,
BBI.
yeah, on
Yes.
BBI.
Yes, he
Yeah.
said it there.
So, Raila maintains Uhuru did not defeat me and he can't defeat me mathematically. Okay? We're not even going to go into the issue of servers, etc.
Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen, help me understand, on what basis, therefore, would you shake hands and agree on something if Mugambi did not defeat me and he's in office and I'm not? Just because I never understood this. And that's why people kept saying, explain to us the handshake. Explain to us, Raila is not in cabinet. I don't even think when they were putting the wreaths at Moi's grave,
He
that
actually,
the
he actually
military
enjoys more
facilitated
security
him.
than the deputy president.
Okay.
So, you know, because I think our failure to address some of these things, you know, it has to cascade, that kind of. So on what basis was you as a what is this? What is this?
That is the main question. The common
What is
Mwananchi wants
this?
to understand.
Let me
seeking
give-
to understand.
Let me give you the genesis of Kenyan politics. The genesis of Kenyan politics is tribal oriented. In that the moment I form a political party and I become a party leader, then you have to associate it with my village. And the moment then when we are vying for positions, we have to elicit tribal emotions. So that it's us versus them. That is now the genesis. You realize after the last elections, the kind of acrimony we had was more like tribal. It was us versus them.
Okay.
And there was the need of trying to get a truce. You get the point? And because these two gentlemen control a lot of tribal masses, then they said, hey, why we don't need our people to fight more. Let's come together and shake hands. For me, I believe it could have ended there and saying, hey, guys, we are buddies. We don't need to fight more. Now, this other genesis of trying to come up with a report out of the handshake.
What is that?
For me, it still confuses me. But then, our money has been already used.
Why not
Let me tell you
why
why.
not do a transitional thing? Why not do a transitional thing
let me-
and go to election?
Okay.
Let me elaborate.
That was
this.
meant to
Let's
In
give
addition
Wakili
to
some
what
time.
Council
Yeah,
was saying, Dono,
Yes.
look at it this way. Don't ask yourself why it ended there. I'll tell you the truth why it did not end there. Because this guy still says, I won, you lost, but you're the president. So, how do I get to be comfortable? Then we have to come up with a way. We change this constitution. First of all, do away with your deputy president. Because if it were not for this BBI, what would Raila be doing today? You need to ask yourself that question.
I mean,
All right?
probably,
No, he's making-
probably
So
leave it to me.
they
I
had to
will be
create,
settled.
they had to, the two gentlemen had to create something.
Okay, an avenue.
And an avenue
Okay.
for the former, for the former.
If it wasn't for the
Prime
deputy
Minister.
president,
Minister,
who
to
wouldn't
have
have
something
made
to
it?
do.
Okay.
So when you
Yeah?
talk about
But
getting rid of the deputy
unfortunately,
president,
I'm
The con-
asking myself even today, whenever Uhuru is sitting down and he knows that this guy can even go to Mombasa and say tulisema wakihesabu tunahesabu.
Okay,
You
but
see, he's
tunaiba.
still reminding us that you guy, you're there. You're not even supposed
Okay.
to be the
But
president.
to conclude
That's a
this,
I don't know
legitimacy
what he
issue.
feels
Yes.
about
To
it.
co- to
The
conclude-
legitimacy
He has
issue.
to feel very
Actually,
I wanted to bring out
Ayub,
that.
to conclude this,
the aspect of
this is
legitimacy.
my feeling. I'm not going to discuss about legitimacy. I feel that it's high time for Kenyans and these younger people who have energy to really come out and stand for this country. I have said this before, and I'm going to look directly, I don't know to which camera.
That one.
That probably me and you, we are the ones who need to make change in this country. There is no way other people are going to have a conversation about this country without the majority on the table.
Okay.
And I feel, as you're going to discuss about legitimacy,
Yes.
let's not dwell much on the politics of tomorrow without the people who will be there
Okay,
tomorrow.
and the solution to the problems today, because there appears to be the problem point here, which is the BBI, to which my bench here,
BBI
the
is
three
not
of
the
you,
solution.
It's not the
see
solution,
as
we said
perhaps
it again.
the solution for an unpredictable political problem. But this is what Raila Odinga did say at the burial of the late Mzee Daniel Toroitich, Arap Moi in Kabrak, Nakuru County on Wednesday last week.
He came from poverty. Just like Mzee Kenyatta also came from poverty. Jaramogi also came from poverty. So nobody can therefore talk about dynasty, talk about, just like Uhuru Kenyatta is also just a Kenyan. And Raila is also just a Kenyan. Well, why should somebody think that is more entitled to things in this country than Raila Odinga because he's son of Oginga Odinga? Or Gideon Moi because he's son of Moi? No, Gideon has a right like any other Kenyan to vie for any position that he wants in this country.
Okay.
Now,
that
Areba,
is so wrong.
Okay, Areba,
You see-
I'll come to you.
You see the right message at the wrong context.
Okay.
Bitterness.
Now, I want us to, because you talked about Gideon to be specific here, that has been his main concern, that he can go for the presidency.
If even you
It
can go.
Of course I do. I don't have such ambitions yet, but God willing, hopefully into the future. But Areba, he was talking in the context of Gideon Moi, who he said, his father was a peasant before he became the vice president, before the Legico in 1955, the vice presidency, the presidency for 24 years. I mean, was he perhaps shelving or absolving in this particular case, or wrapping up in immunity Gideon Moi, notwithstanding the command of politics in the Rift Valley, the kingmanship here, the pointmanship by the Deputy President William Ruto, who Odinga has been opposing from the onset in 2018 since the handshake?
I think he was just trying to say clearly that, you see, hey, this hustler versus dynasty is not something that we are ready to entertain. And for me, I am concerned about the bitterness that is shown from the dynasty aspect. It looks so personal. And as much as he was trying to portray Gideon Moi as like the best from the dynasties as then during the burial, I feel that was the right message at the wrong time. I mean, nobody else spoke politics during the burial of the late president. He's the only one who spoke politics.
Even Gideon never did.
Even Gideon never said that. And I feel, that is why I said earlier on that we probably need to move away from this idea of politicking every day. A friend who's an ambassador from a visiting country asked me last week, when are you guys having elections? I told him 2022. He was like, wow, I thought you were having elections next week.
Even the US, who are going to have elections.
November. Tanzania is going to the elections. Tanzania, Ethiopia, all are going to the elections. Burundi, Somalia.
The feeling I have with Raila's once, actually, which, just like you've said, that message was actually at the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, what he's trying to tell people is to impose Gideon on Kalenjins.
Okay.
As we said again, whether you like it or not, Kenyan politics are, it's all about tribes. Where do you enjoy your support? Where I enjoy my support, then we come together. So what he's trying to tell the people is that Gideon is the right person for you Kalenjins.
Okay.
And he's trying to impose him on them so that they can neutralize a little bit the power that Ruto enjoys in Kalenjin. But I can tell you, that is not the way to do it. That is not how Kalenjin are going. And you had, actually there were reactions after the burial where those people were saying, no. As Kalenjins, we already know who is leading us.
That is
we already know.
already
Yes,
decided.
it is already. So you cannot come and impose Gideon Moyan to us and telling us he's better than this. So we need to support him or something like that. Yes, it is fine. But that was actually wrong, if you asked me.
All
it's
right.
bitterness and it is personal.
Asante sana, Wakili Lechana here. Let's hit the break here on the program. When we come back, we'll equally be taking stock of why the DP William Ruto seems to be under-acknowledged and overlooked here in this particular case when it comes to the handshake, why the pair of the presidency is taken apart here in regard to the ODM party and what they want to materialize out of the Building Bridges initiative. Task Force report, even as Raila says, the country must head for a referendum. The number is 0791478990. The hashtag on Twitter is NewDayK. The short SMS code is 40920. Stay tuned for the next discussion coming up next after the break here on the program. Welcome back. You're watching the program. We are into the second segment of the discussion here on New Day Kenya, and we'll be here talking about, before we come to the Echesa aspect and the office of the Deputy President, William Ruto accused of corruption and the Kitui governor calling for his resignation, and equally the ODM party calling for investigation into the Deputy President William Ruto as to how the meeting happened in his office, the 23-minute, amid consideration by the DP William Ruto to reshuffle his staff at the Harambee House Annex here in Nairobi. But first we turn our attention to former Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kunjuri, who spoke yesterday and said that President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Jubilee Party hoodwinked him politically. He was told to fold up his party for a plum state job if Uhuru wins his re-election in 2017. And this is what the Daily Nation had to say this Monday morning. And if you can have that up on air, Madam Director. Yes, there we go. Kinjuri accuses Uhuru of going against the 2017 deal. And he said he was called on to fold his political party to join the ruling Jubilee Party in 2016, which was flamboyantly launched to rule the country until 2032. And he accused the president of turning a blind eye on the affairs that affect the common mwananchi, especially in central Kenya. And if I may come to you, Benji, what Kinjuri spoke about in particular was the ailing tea, coffee, pyrethrm rather, and the dairy, industry, the dairy farming in central Kenya. And before I come to you, this is what he had to say specifically about the aspects of his opposition and why he was ejected from the cabinet by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Kenyans are demanding service. And let not BBI overshadow service. And we shall continue to say so. As Mwangi Kiojore, I will continue fighting for the region. Mimi nataka kuwauliza, nani ametukana rais wa nchi ya Kenya? Kuliko Gladys Wanga, kuliko Joho, kuliko Junet Mohamed, kuliko Bobo Owino, na kuliko huyo rafiki yake. But today, Mwangi Kiojore akisimama, Moses Kuria akisimama, aseme barabara za Laikipia hasiko sawa. Aseme tumalize development, kesho yake DCI. Kesho yake KRA. Kesho yake EACC. Let our people go. Even the Bible, the Israelites, the final word, God to his people was let my people. Shoke gwero igere prada yako toru ni njega. Twakinya okarati nare na nikurete re gwere ume. Iji ni dinagucokeria maguru dinagucokeria na ndakora weki atia na nikiro ndagitirwo guthie kiama-ini okingiri ni tuko kahora kumwira horo wake no ndungithio cabagia mutumia waku ati ndararuga nyama maita matatu kiumia na mbeca na irio muheaga cia kuruga.
That is the former Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kinjuri speaking over the weekend. And
some interpretations.
Madam Director, of course we need some translation. Hopefully we can have that.
some interpretations.
Thank you. You are such a fantastic director. If I may come to you, Benji.
Yes, sir.
He spoke in length, and we can unpack that in different aspects. But aside from the farming aspect, in terms of the economy of central Kenya, the mountainous region that is rumbling, of course we expect some form of volcano politically come 2022. But specifically, he said there was an intense vulgar language politically from Junet Mohamed, Gladys Wanga, the ODM leader Raila Odinga, and ndugu yake, and that literally or we are the victims here.
Yeah, rafiki yake.
In this particular case, he's playing the victim and the victor card.
Yes.
But literally, is he telling the president that you have thrown us under the bus?
Yes, he is. He forgot to mention Millie Odhiambo. I noticed that. He also didn't mention Raila by name, but he said, Uyo rafiki yake, that's him. Several things he says there. He says, it's like you find me with my nice Prado, and it's raining, and we take a ride together. You give me the Prado, then you ask me to get out.
On a bicycle, then you give me a ride.
Yeah, a ride, and then you get out, and then it has engine problems. You have not given me an engine. You've not given me the way forward. Simply put, whatever Kinjuri is saying, CS Kinjuri, former, is the reason Uhuru took so long to fire him. There's a part there that he says something that's really an insult, and if you're a political analyst or a politician, you'll understand that. He says, let my people go. What he does, that's a very smart way of calling the president Pharaoh. I've been in a different political setting where that happened, and it was a very huge insult on the party leader, Pharaoh, that you are... He has an audience. He's talking about the farmer, about the milkman. He has an audience. He knows what he's doing. So it's really unfortunate that, the politics is getting that nasty, because he's also making very serious allegations. He's alleging, Ayub, that the president uses state resources and state institutions to harass people who don't agree with him. In other words, he's saying that the president has dictatorial tendencies. And in fact, what Kinjuri is doing is giving legs to the things Miguna says. because Miguna says that these are despots, that this is a tyrant.
Okay.
So as a cabinet minister who was in cabinet at the beginning of this year or last month, to say that KRA and ESCC are following him when he doesn't toe the line, it's very damaging and it's very telling. But I must say, lastly,
Okay.
that Mwangi Kiunjuri is the presumptive deputy president nominee of His Excellency, the deputy president. In other words, Kiunjuri, in whatever thing Ruto is doing, William, is the presumptive DP.
And he said that even to the grave, I'll follow you.
I'm your
to
general.
position, I'll follow you.
So you can see now
something-
the constellations
Okay.
forming.
Okay, politically, Lachena, what message is he trying to convey here? One to the president, and then more specifically to the audience in central Kenya that is so concerned that has not been able to give some sort of political feedback at a time when even the president applied some form of reverse psychology politically when he said in Karatina, Nyeri County, that my choice for 2022 will shock you guys.
In fact, you heard very well what Kiunjuri is saying, if you listen carefully. He's like already accusing the president of not funding his ministry when he was still in control. Because he actually said that the president never gave funds to do several things
The
that
Minister
he's
of
talking
Agriculture,
about,
yes.
right? So what he's trying to tell you is that I was not unable to do my job, but I was not given a chance. I was not given the funds to
In
do
other
the
words,
job,
the president
but he's-
from the region
yes,
has let you down.
He has let you down because he didn't do these things that I've been asking for him to do.
Okay,
And the only thing that he can come to do is sack me, all right? Well, I know about us being shocked on who the presidential candidate is going to be. This is not the time we can get shocked. During Moi's time, we will get shocked because he was in power for
Many
many
shocks,
years, and we wouldn't know who is grooming or who is going to propose. But right now, who don't we know in Central Province that can be maybe that Uhuru can say we are supporting this person to be the president or any other person. And in any case, the politics of this country nowadays, we don't care who he proposes or not, because we've grown, but we are no longer at that stage or like during Moi's time when we would be waiting patiently to know who is going to be proposed as the next presidential candidate. So it's not a shock. Let him propose anyone. That one is not going to become a shock at all because we know already he has fallen out with many of the central leaders. But also, there is something that I find a bit negative about Kiunjuri's complaints. Because he's complaining that he was asked to drop his party GNU so that he couldn't join the presidency. But also that does not guarantee him being in the cabinet forever.
Well, that was the deal that was cut.
Okay.
That was the offer. Let me finish.
for Plum's job.
Let me finish. We cannot say that was the deal. How many parties were
More than 11 parties.
More than 11
Yes,
parties, including the bus
Yes.
from my place.
Yes, the
by
Kiraitu Morongi.
Kiraitu Morongi was never made a cabinet secretary. Secondly,
Because he was the governor.
Secondly, no. I'm
Those
going
quid pro
somewhere.
quo.
I'm going somewhere
Those
because he
quid
would
pro
have
quo.
proposed to someone to do that. But unfortunately, the president picked the able Honorable Munya.
Yes.
Yet Munya did not even do away with his
Support,
party.
yeah,
Munya actually stayed with his
PNU
PNU
party.
But was
So-
defeated.
To defeat.
But was defeated.
It doesn't
And
matter,
was
but,
met-
he
and
was,
met to the cabinet.
but he was chosen. He was already appointed to the cabinet. So it's all about whether you need your party. I mean, whether you, because we can say maybe people like Matiang'i and many others were appointed from sympathizers of a certain party, maybe from Kisii or something like that, all right?
Kisi, we don't have sympathizers.
well, it must have been a proposal from someone.
All right.
So it's not an issue. Kiunjuri also needs to know that anyone can be a cabinet secretary.
Okay.
It doesn't essentially mean that because you did away with your party, then you must remain as a cabinet secretary forever. No, no. That's what
I think
I don't
Kiunjuri
agree.
is coming in too late to the party. He was, for heaven's sake, a cabinet secretary. And last year, during the Nairobi International ASK show, that is the moment I knew that Kiunjuri's time in the cabinet was really numbered. When you have the president dressing you down in public, I mean, that was really a very bad show.
Twice that was.
Twice.
Twice.
When he now comes out to say that it was deliberate, I feel that he's now becoming a crybaby. I feel that he would have done better. I mean, he sits in cabinet.
The signs were there.
He presents, each ministry presents its policy paper before the cabinet, and you discuss it amongst your peers. So I don't really believe that his ministry was deliberately cash-starved to portray him badly. I feel that he chose different wars to fight, which he was not supposed to fight while in cabinet. He is just like an HSA. I feel that while...
So in other words, his association and close relations with the DP William Ruto cost him.
That is your point. My point is that probably during his time in cabinet, he did not do what was expected of him.
Well, there are many other cabinet secretaries, Areba, to be fair to you and to be fair to our other panel and to our viewers at home,
who have not done anything,
who have fallen short. Let's talk of James Macharia, transport and infrastructure. I mean, talk about the SGR, the billions that went into highway, and equally that's unaccounted for more than 1 trillion Kenya shillings generally lost across the board. And equally there are other ministers who, in President Kenyatta's first term, 6 of cabinet ministers have stepped aside and seem to be enjoying the political, umbrella at the moment guaranteed by the BBI. So why do you think there has been specificity on the likes of Mwangi Kunjuri and others, and Echesa?
Whereas you might have a discussion about the SGR and other cabinet secretaries who have not performed to PAM, when you look at the position agriculture occupies in the country, then it shows you the signs. And during Kunjuri's term, interestingly, he oversaw some deals and some mergers in the agriculture sector and some maize importations, some milk transactions, which really touched some people the wrong way. I can tell you that probably Kunjuri stole from where he was not supposed to steal.
So in other words, he failed. Did he fail? No.
Sips tea.
Okay. Yes,
it's true, by the way.
If I may come to you, was it a case of failure on his end of perhaps incapacitating himself when there was an existing capacity, or this was a political ploy, for his close association with the Deputy President, William Ruto? Because there are some who read into that.
It's both. You know, I've said here many times, and you know, I consider the President a friend. And I have advised, formally, informally, on air, off air. The problem with President Uhuru is, you know, these guys are students of the Moi School of Politics, which involves a lot of trickery. I mean, we did a lot of analysis last week on Moi. Yeah, yep. We did a lot of analysis on Moi. If you look at how Moi was playing politics and why he was feared, you're running a list. You're running the list with Mugambi. Mugambi is on the said list he doesn't know.
And he has another list.
He has another list.
What he did to Kibaki and come up.
Okay? You're having breakfast. You're a crooked lawyer. You see detectives arrive in your compound, up country. You're running into a maize plantation. They chase you down. They arrest you. They inform you that the president has sent them and you are a judge. That was the Kenya we grew up in. That's the Kenya we grew up in. So now, unfortunately, and that's why I say change has to come from outside of Kanuism. So unfortunately, this is the school of politics that William Ruto, Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga went through. It is only that Uhuru as a person is kind-hearted. Even though some will dispute that, but Uhuru as a person is kind-hearted.
Unfortunately, that's very true.
That is very true. Yes, he will listen to you. He will understand your case. He'll say, Sasa, who you?
You will not easily let you go. He'll give you a chance.
And he's very loyal. But you see, the trickery is there. So, I'm saying all this to say, I am quite sure that there are two issues here. Kunjuri's incompetence, and also that he's being undermined. That those things he's saying are true. That there's a way money is not diverted there. But in public you portray this. There's also a way, and this is why corruption now has become what it has become. And I'm sure in this show we will also look at the Deputy President's tweet on this very serious allegation. You see, there are also deals being done. There are deals being done in agriculture.
Yes.
In fact, specifically even under Kunjuri's reign, you remember when the president was angry, they found that on the maize, 16 people were paid a lot of money, but most farmers were not paid.
That was the 2 billion unscrupulous trade, paid to unscrupulous traders.
Now, what kind of a country is that? How can that happen in my cabinet? And actually, Say again?
In milk?
And if you remember what the president said, which also made him look bad, Kunjuri, I dare you, try that again. I swear before God.
Yeah.
Try that
again. You see, that's not
Tuletea
leadership.
watu tuwafunge
when a
kama
man-
haulizi.
You see, that's not leadership.
That is not
Okay.
presidential.
That is not leadership. That is colossal failure. And again, what I'm saying is you'll find that even of those who are paid, there are some connected to him,
The president.
to the president.
They used
And
his
that's
name,
why, so for example, this next one we're going to look at, which is sensitive matters of DOD,
Yes.
and there have been others before. What did the DP say yesterday?
That's not under my docket.
It's a short meeting. Yes, we did it.
23 minutes.
But who is manning the other How did they pass all those other checks and balances?
Okay.
How did they pass DOD? How did they pass Interior? How did they pass blah, blah, blah?
And it
In
was
other
very-
words,
it was very specific.
And this also happened when there was a fight about, you remember there was a fight about the Kenyatta family and KAA at the airport against what was it they were fighting Ruto for? Then now when they caught him on this, I don't know if it was the dams, then he released the other one,
Which neutralized the matter.
which neutralized the matter. So again, it's united in corruption. You remember the allegations at the health ministry,
Yes.
even close relatives of the
The
president.
5 billion.
Were mentioned.
I've seen this morning, there's this whole thing against Kenya Power being done by Jerotich Sei. And I've seen
Switch off
there-
KPLC.
Switch off KPLC, because they've done an audit on how KPLC does the billing. They had allegedly compromised the lawyer who was doing that before, Apollo Boya. And now I've just seen this morning that they were offered a bribe of each member of this campaign, 300 million shillings. And she has even said who was paying the bribe, which I don't want to say her name on air, but your guess is as good as mine.
Okay.
The top matriarch. So once again, united in graft,
Okay.
devolved in plunder.
This is very important because I like to bring it up from the perspective of the common Mwananchi who feels economically deprived. But first, before we do that, we can have this tweet up on air so that we can read of the Deputy President, William Ruto. Madam Alice, if you can have, yes, he says the desperation of my political competitors on their choreographed smear campaign against William Samoei Ruto is evident even for the fools whom, in bracket, we have a shortage for, closes the bracket to see, just wait and see where this will end up. Washindwe, the exclamation mark, go for the fraudsters, leave me to serve the nation. That is the Deputy President, William Ruto. Now, this is what he had to say in effect to that, and we have a bite on it specifically over the weekend, where he distanced the office of the Deputy President, William Ruto, in regard to the connection and the accusations of the former Sports Cabinet Secretary, Rashid Eches, and this is what the DP had to say.
The Fitina, my friend, if you look at the inventory of the police, there is nothing which was recovered in my vehicle. My arrest has been politically instigated, and this is pure politics. Yeah? Yeah. So, but Kenyans now can see what is happening. People are using our police officers in a bad way. Yeah? You arrest someone without even offense, then you peddle lies. You know, there's nobody who is complaining that I have obtained money from them. No one.
I don't know who to start with.
Let me start.
Okay.
This thing will end in premium tears. This saga will end in premium tears. And I can tell you for sure, it does not look as simple as it looks. So many people will be sucked into it, both big and small fish. I mean, Echesa is my friend, and I don't know how he became a military expert. Right now, Ayub, if I carry you and I take you to Lake Victoria, you cannot be a boat expert now to inspect boats and try to see which one to buy for the country or not. So I feel that there were some people who accompanied Echesa who are not in those photos.
Yes.
And they probably feared to be seen. So number one, I don't know whether, Benji, you might have more information about this. Was this deal valid or not valid? Well, okay.
No.
And how much is it of a concern to all of you that this particular issue brings forth accusations on the office of the Deputy President? Now, the presidency in general, the office of the President included, 2 billion Kenya shillings was lost for, which was meant for the national tree planting exercise. Another 2.5 billion Kenya shillings will not be accounted for under the Auditor General's report, which was meant to be for travels allowances of the office of the president. How much does it make Kenya a place where dodgy deals
I need an
and
answer.
Let me
dodgy
qualify.
businesses
Let me qualify.
in
Let
terms
me
of
answer his
reputation-wise?
question.
I need
Let me
an
answer his
answer so
question.
that I can continue with my,
Yes.
my
It
thought
It
process.
depends on your definition of valid. You know why? The modus operandi in this government is you do deals for the sole purpose of doing business, for the sole purpose of raising campaign money. Now, how they do those deals, and you saw this with SGR, is called padding. So there's actually an opportunity to do the arms, but then you structure the deal in such a way that you make money. You collect a lot of money up front,
Okay.
and ultimately you make a lot of money. That's I'm only saying this why, Wakili. You know you're supposed to be cross-examining me because you're a lawyer. There's a big question around how Monica Juma's original signature is on the documents,
Okay. You can,
which are also stamped and sealed.
you can stop
From the
there.
Department of Defense.
Now, this is my...
I'll
How
pause
do you
for a
even
moment.
enter
Yeah,
there?
I'll pick this call from home. You'll continue. And we have John Adamba joining us from the county of Bungoma. Bushiere, John.
Hey, Bushere, my friend Abdi.
Habari asubuhi.
Nakwambia ni mzuri sana. Kwanza wacha niseme mimi na misi linda sana, linamisi sana. Sijui yako wapi. Okay. Wacha niingilie kwa neno ufisadi.
Okay.
My friend, ufisadi. Ufisadi. Ufisadi si kitu ya mchezo, ni kitu ambacho ninasema na ninaomba au ninatoa hata onyo au amri. Ufisadi lazima iangaliwe kwa vyovyote vile bwana. Yes, tumechoka na mambo ya ufisadi saa yote. Ufisadi sio jambo ambalo linaweza kuchukuliwa kwa njia rahisi hivi.
Okay.
Hata wewe mwenyewe ukiangalia hapo jambo la ufisadi limetumaliza na linaturudisha nyuma. Pesa za walipa ushuru hazifanye yale yanayokusudiwa, zinaelekezwa katika mifuko ya watu fulani, zinaelekezwa katika matumbo ya watu fulani, na nchi inazidi kuangamia. Wagonjwa hawapati dawa, pesa zimepotea, mambo imeharibika, barabara zimeharibika, pesa imepotea. Mimi nataka kusema serikali yetu kama inanisikiliza kabisa, ufisadi ichukuliwe kwa vyovyote vile. Kwa kizungu nitasema no or die to fight corruption in this country. Adamba from Bungoma.
Okay.
That guy has really gotten it.
Asante sana, John. Thank you so much. He joins us from the county of Bungoma.
That guy has
We do
really
cherish your
gotten it.
contribution. Asante, John. Yes,
Ayub,
Areba. Yes.
Now, this is my thought process. Number one, this thing looks deeper than the surface. And probably this year needs to dig down and get everybody who's culpable in this issue. And because I feel that when you're an arms dealer, you have some level of intelligence which is not with the ordinary mwananchi. I mean, I cannot today purport to be an arms dealer and have somebody paying my tickets to
Also in Poland.
to Poland and giving me 11 million. So there might have been an assurance given probably by the mighty powers, maybe in DOD or in the presidency. So I feel that it needs to be dug down. Number two, for the deputy president, I feel that he has a big task of exonerating his office. Remember that the presidency, this is the office that has been rocked with the laptop scandal. This is the office that has been rocked with so many scandals. Tree planting exercise and such. So the deputy president needs to tone down and get a good answer to come out of that. Because in my office, you cannot just walk there and even meet for 7 minutes. There are even 23.
You're 16 less.
I mean, you cannot just walk into my office and do a meeting there. I know there are friends who do not have offices, and they will occasionally call me and tell me, I have a client, can I use your office? And depending on the character of that person, if we are on the same character, then I will ordinarily allow them to do their deal from my office, as long as it's legit, because tomorrow I don't want people coming to my office and saying we bought air from here. Where is the air? So I feel that the presidency and the deputy president's office has a huge task in exonerating itself from the deal, because guys cannot just walk into your office and meet for 23 minutes and go away. But the deal is deeper than it looks.
Okay. Yes, okay.
For me, there's one question I'm asking myself, because the way this deal looks like, first of all, was there an intention to purchase these arms?
It looks like.
Was there a tender? Was it advertised? Did these
don't
people
advertise.
pre-qualify for this tender? Those are some of the questions that they need to tell the Kenyans, by the way. Because you can imagine myself, I don't know. There are so many people around there who are asking themselves, how did this happen in the deputy president's office? Well, just like my learned colleague said, Ruto needs to exonerate himself and his office. Okay? Well, you cannot distance Ruto as himself with his office.
Yes.
That is his office. And just like he said,
Okay.
if anything is done in my office, my friend, I have a right to be answerable for whatever that happened there because I'm supposed to know. Assuming that I didn't know, then you have to ask your people to be answerable. And that's why you can see he's bitterly saying that he may be wanting to even reshuffle the office or something. But I'm very sure they might have used the office as a weak point. But I don't know. I need to leave the DCI to do their job because for me, I will tell you, in totality, I cannot start supporting anyone for such a crime, for such an offense, until the DCI have done their job. Because this is not the only office. This is not the only scandal. You know, theft happens anywhere. This corruption is happening everywhere. But if it happens in your office, and you're the one who is in charge of that office, whether a cabinet secretary, whether the deputy president, whether the president, come openly, exonerate your office, and tell the people exactly what is happening. Before we even start, although also, there is one thing, maybe we may not have time again to discuss it, Charity Ngilu, telling the deputy president.
For the resignation.
This is too early. Let us also not politicize everything before even we have.
And also, Charity is not clean.
Look at her. When she was a minister, look at her. She's not clean. She's not clean. You even remember when her office was burnt. I don't know what's the conclusion of the...
And her office is just one of the recent ones. Even from before, when she was in water, when she was in hell.
When she's speaking, we need to ask ourselves, who is that person speaking?
How clean is that person?
How clean are you before you even speak? Even by that time, and you know, she has a personal grant main fee for the deputy president. Remember, alitimuliwa kabla muda yake ijaisha during, and you know,
I'll tell you the mistake. I'll tell you the mistake.
To perform.
I'll tell you the mistake that DP Ruto is making, and the genesis also of Charity's issues in the Ruto government. You remember the whole thing of Langata Primary School, and how Charity is actually the minister that went there, erected the board, pulled the land back that had been grabbed, and she said, and I quote, "I will name the person who is guilty of this and I will resign." So she was talking about the DP. The mistake the DP is making is by trivializing these huge corruption scandals, he sends out the signal that he is not only complicit, but he is welcoming of it. For example, when the occasion is about Aror Kimwarer dams, the DP said, well, it's not 21 billion that has been spent, it's only 7 billion that has been spent.
Only 7 billion.
It's only 7 billion, I'm quoting him. And even something like Langata Primary, which sits right next to his hotel, you know, this is a primary school, this is misuse of police where kids were tear gassed. You can see that, once again, that word audacity, that the audacity, the nerve to do something like this, obviously makes him look very bad. And now he's admitting, because of CCTV footage, that a meeting happened, but the meeting was short. You know, there are other players. We're not alone. It was a short meeting. Yes. We're just facilitating something that has begun somewhere else.
Okay, but
this is very wrong.
Okay, I'll pause you, and also want to take the aspect of
it's like me saying
politicization.
It's like me saying Mugambi.
Okay, let me just take this.
Took only 2 puffs of bangi in my office. Only 2 puffs.
Okay, which is illegal.
It's wrong.
Okay, we'll talk about the politicization because you have James Orengo who equally spoke on that matter. But first, let me pick this call from David, calling us from Kericho. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you. Habari asubuhi.
Yes, I'm Murgo from Kericho. Yes, let me contribute. I have a few questions to ask. Yes, and on that meeting in the BBSOB, my first question is, where was Ruto? Number 2, who actually taken in? And how was it possible that they held their meeting without the knowledge of Ruto?
Okay.
So I want a guesser to name names, and now they got into this office. Did he have any appointment? Who ushered in? How was the gate opened? Who opened the gate for them? Was there permission? Okay. Thank you.
My brother from
Asante.
My brother from Bungoma, the deputy president, Kericho, the deputy president is not always in office. He's not the security person. He is not the person who serves tea. He's not the one who manages the boardroom. But then he has an overall responsibility in that
The office
office.
being him.
Because it's his office.
It's his office. And that is why I'm saying he needs to put his house in order. And as Benji said, we don't need to trivialize and say, hey, we only met for 23 minutes. No. That was a wrong tweet. And whoever tweeted, and I know it's not the deputy president, hey, my friend, whoever tweeted that was a misfire. Because you could have come out and condemned that, first of all, and say this is wrong. And even if it was 2 minutes, you could have come out and say this is wrong. And now we are all watching for the deputy president to put order in his office.
Okay, and the point is that whether it's 23 minutes, whether it's 1 minute, it's a defense matter, it's a national security aspect, owing to the fact that we are at war with the terror group Al-Shabaab, and equally it's a concern because that's what costed Donald Trump the impeachment, a time when he was questioned over his phone call conversation with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. However, though, we have a bite here by the Siaya Senator James Orengo, who equally is the minority leader in the Senate, and of the ODM party, who called on the Deputy President William Ruto to step aside for investigations, as some even called for his investigations, among them the Kitui Governor Charity Kaluki Ngilo.
In Kenya. It is not a simple affair. Kama mtu anaweza kuingia kwa ofisi ya deputy president amejivaa ati jemedari ya Kenya Army ama ya Kenya Air Force na ni mtu ya kujiwekelea na anaingia, atueleze what did he know? Because if it is something he knew, he must tell the Republic of Kenya. He office.
And Mugambi, Lachena, Wakili, if I may come to you, the aspect of politicization here really seems to be on the horizon with regards to this particular matter, which is very, very important in terms of national security. We have seen the DCI, which has the capacity constitutionally incapacitated over the 7 billion, 21 billion Kenya shillings, rotations in court for that matter. And now this is a matter that is subject to investigation by the same DCI. And already we are hearing the political rhetoric from the other end calling for the resignation of the DP William Ruto. How do you think this might hurt or help the already ongoing investigation process to unearth this racket, which seems to be way expansive beyond the former Sports Cabinet Secretary Rashid Achesa?
Well, you know, what they are not telling us, and I've asked again, is what was the beginning? We need to know, how did this first of all begin? A scandal has a beginning. Was there a tender?
And it's not an email.
And it's not even...
It can't be the email. They're saying that you cannot email and say, hey, I deal in arms. Come, let's do business.
No.
That does not
and
make sense.
We're talking of 40 billion.
Yes.
And then we're talking about someone walking, like Orengo is putting it as if this guy was dressed in full regalia. You don't have to dress in full regalia as a general for you to...
according to the investigation so far.
Even with the official view.
What I'm trying to say is this. By the time they were going to do that, first of all, was there a tender that backfired? Was it first of all a well organized crime from the beginning, so that we know this person was working there as a what? So, in fact, what Orengo is saying is this. By the time you have an audacity of walking into a deputy president's office dressed in full regalia as a general to go and discuss something like this, then it means there is much more that they need to tell us, such kind of things. But what I'm thinking is this. This was a theft.
Okay.
This was a scandal, because why wasn't the real general seated for the meeting?
That is Samson Mwadede.
Why were they not going to the DOD? Okay. Why come to the deputy president's office? In fact, the cabinet secretary for defense was not even under
Monica Juma.
To be specific, is an appointee directly from, you know what I'm talking about. He's a direct nominee by the president, isn't it? Not even the deputy president, because who doesn't know? Achesa was the biggest mistake that Ruto made.
Uhuru Ruto.
I mean,
Okay. Uhuru Ruto.
Let's call it Uhuru Ruto. But we understand that it was a Ruto appointment.
Okay.
All right? But that was the biggest mistake.
And it's a
shame. It's a shame that such a guy can still...
And he came from ODM.
And it shows this guy has been a con, even from the beginning, and he's not ready to stop this. Because it's an embarrassment even to the president. Why is he working to do these things in his office?
Benji, there was equally a concern about the extent of how this materializes, how it continues to metamorph in regard to its development. There was a time a Kenyan had supplied computers to the Department of Defense. He was never paid, and he was conned by someone who was an operative at the State House in Nairobi, Kenya. This again is coming to surface. Does it show perhaps again the loophole in the security sector in this country that can be taken advantage of by the enemy of the country? Number one, which is existential. I'm talking about Al-Shabaab. Number two, then, does it reveal again, reputation-wise, does it dent Kenya as perhaps where a country where dodgy deals, dodgy businesses are made owing to the money that comes from South Sudan, from conflict zone areas that come into the banking system in Kenya, and then that money is cleansed to be used by the country's economy?
We have a problem with corruption. And I cannot believe that after the discussions on corruption 18 years ago in 2002, that we would have an administration that comes in and actually becomes corrupt. We have a problem with corruption. Corruption has gotten worse from when it was in the Kibaki days. I've seen arguments that the Jubilee government is the most corrupt in Kenya's history. That is from a credible source such as John Githongo. There is no recovery from that. That is unacceptable. And what is really there, Ayub, is, you know, there's something David Nee talked about called signaling. Signaling is where, if we all work in Mugambi's office and he's a senior advocate, we can tell by how Mugambi conducts himself whether we can have alcohol in the premises or we cannot, whether we should come early to work or it's okay to come late. You can tell by the conduct of the commander-in-chief whether you can get away with crafting a deal right from State House and getting the guys to pay and they walk away. This kind of allegation has touched on even the president's PA. I don't want to go into details, but it's been in the papers, where he was even locked up at State House, then set to be transferred to Kilimani police station. At that point, the PA then conceded and said, okay, allow me to just reimburse the money, which was 100 million shillings. And he just withdrew from his account and gave the brokers. One of the things that we have not focused on here, and I'm just being careful not to go too deep. Any keen eye knows that Mwadethe's tenure ended in 2018.
So he was given an extension.
He was given an extension that can only be given by the commander-in-chief himself. It was even, you could say, in dubious circumstances. So you can imagine the relationship. You can imagine, and especially we talked about this last week, when you talked of the state burial. You can see the relationship between a civilian president, commander-in-chief, and the military. My friend, you can see that relationship. Huyo ni mtoto yao kabisa. And I'm just saying this because Mwadethe's track record and all of that, you know, he's in security. So it's not very public, but you can see even the image he cuts and a lot of the criticism about even his stature. Because why should you have a general? And this began from the Karangi days, where you have a general whose stomach is 4 times.
Well, you have
Kenyans are bastard. No. Yes, it's a reflection of discipline, etc.
Self-discipline.
Self-governance and self-discipline. So if you look at it from all those different
angles,
parameters, it's therefore not too shocking that this kind of thing is happening, that there's DOD letterhead, that there was a meeting at DOD, that there was a signature, that there's this, you know, and that's why I'm saying we seem to be having an incorrigible government, and it's unfortunate. And we're just telling them in a civil and diplomatic manner that this is not sustainable, this has to change. Do you know the president has no time? The president has no time. It is really sad for a young person like Uhuru, at the end of the next 2 years, for Kenyans to say, Uhuru was worse than Moi. That is unacceptable.
Areba, the final words, let me give you to you.
My final words is that probably it's high time we get to have a conversation on how to salvage this country. Every Monday we sit here, Benji and my landed senior here, but then the kind of stories and the kind of negative energy that we always get from the papers, from the media, and even from the villages, it's astonishing. I don't know, and please keep us in prayers. We probably need to get a turnabout and get to discuss on what are we going to do to move the economy forward. We cannot every day be discussing about debts. We cannot be, I mean, if you look at the nation here, it's something, the lack of poison. I mean, people are dying. people are just conning people all over the place.
Okay.
I mean, this is conned in 23 minutes, which is under investigation. So Ayub, I really
and
feel
this is
that
reality. Don't blame the media. This is reality.
So I really feel that as a country, it's high time that people of goodwill need to take back of this country, and more so young people. I have a passion with young people. They need to really stand out and condemn some of these things. An 80 million machine is lying idle in Kisumu, and water hyacinth is killing the lake.
Exactly.
I mean, we procured it.
Exactly.
It's already in Kisumu. 5 years down the line, it's not being used.
And the leaders are running around talking BBI.
Walk into the carriages of...
It's not right.
Walk into the garages of so many government institutions.
Mercedes.
So Mercedes are rotting. So many vehicles are rotting. And we keep on buying every day.
Actually, I'm told CMC,
there
is from 10 years ago, you know, there are these Passats that were ordered. Remember by the time...
When Uhuru was the finance
yes.
So they were paid for, and you know, because they're sitting there.
They're sitting idle.
They were paid for, I think, 200 million.
Very new Volkswagen.
Very new.
No, new Passat. I'm told they're just sitting there with GK plates.
Nobody's picking them.
They were paid for, they're sitting there. 10 years later, brand new.
That is why I'm saying, God, when you come back, please remember Kenya.
Thank you so much. Benjin Dolo, senior political commentator.
Today was a good show.
Good morning.
Fireworks all through.
Arebo Moyo Samba, advocate of the High Court, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your time. Wakili Mugabe Laichena, I do appreciate your time. Asante sana. We'll see you next Monday, hopefully by the grace of God.
Thank you.
And we have had a good discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And thank you to you too. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time, same place, and we'll leave you with the funny clips in about an hour's time. Winnie Lubembe will be here with my doctor. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Good morning.